Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Again, this was our Patreon exclusive about subliminal programming going on with the masses. It's been going on for a very long time, but it's perhaps going to all new levels.
They're taking the technology and they're putting it to use, and it's really getting scary.
It's getting crazy out there, and there is so much to cover. By the way, yes, we have a lunar eclipse. This is today. This is timed for Nashville, just so you guys can know. Yeah, lunar eclipse, and then we're going to have in 2 weeks, we'll have a solar eclipse. And, it feels like these may be very eventful eclipses, bringing their energy in.
Yeah, they're bringing their energy in. This is a time to definitely, when we have a lunar eclipse, it can bring up a lot of stuff. It can dredge up a lot of stuff, and that's what we've noticed is people going through things, ourselves going through things, challenges, trials. When the emotion gets blocked off or the moon is your mind. The moon is emotion, and that gets blocked off for a minute. You might miss some things. You might not see some things about yourself, but there's also good things about it too.
Absolutely. So it begins at 7:41 p.m. as far as the prenumbral eclipse, and then the partial eclipse manifests at 9:13 p.m. This is again local time in Nashville, which I believe is Central Time. Again, it'll be 1 hour off if you're on the East Coast and 2 hours off the other way if you're on the West Coast. I'll have all the links as always. All the links are always there. You just have to hit the little drop down. And so here you go with the Spanish Member of Parliament presenting 10 measures to wipe out, let's just say that, being careful not to use any lingo because they're really cracking down on anything that could be derived as, speech of many types. I mean, what could you say? It's just an insane period that we find ourselves in. And yeah, as we know, people have been flooding over in the tens of millions, different borders, mostly coming into the NATO countries. And so, here you go, you're having pushback. And when you have pushback that politicians are paying attention to now, that just tells me that they're kind of ready to go to a different phase, is what it tells me. As a lot of people are getting very familiar with the way the system works and the fact that everything is not as we were told. Now, they're telling us that 1 million are now lost or injured in the Russian-Ukraine war, which again has been going on for 2 years and about 7 months at this point in time. And we also have no way of really truly knowing how many people are lost and what's going on over in Gaza, and that's waiting to explode as well. And talking about explosions, here you have the heat from that pipeline explosion. They're saying here, and this is a reporter for KHOU, that it's literally melting and warping these panels on this trailer, which is pretty far away from the flame, and it makes me wonder, all those houses damaged from that heat? And if so, how are people tolerating this heat? As that was again a pipeline explosion. Natural gas always makes me nervous, just saying. And then we have Dutch calling it a 5.3. I saw it listed as a 5.1 quake in Texas. 5.0s and bigger are really rare in Texas, but not as much now in these times as they were in the past. And, does it have anything to do with the large oil field and gas pumping operation? In my mind, yes. I think anybody that thinks it's not about all the fracking and all the oil drilling, it just needs to have their head examined. Of course it is. Again, it's so obvious for so many people, but then with all of us, there might be that one part that we kind of want to ignore because it affects us in a certain way. As we had talked about people with, the religious indoctrination, and, okay, the politicians are corrupt, the media is feeding us nothing but BS, but I still trust in this. It's tough to realize that every aspect, it has been truly untrustworthy the whole time. Every aspect of our life. This, if you can make it out, this is a highway. That's a highway. Look at that. You can see the signs, talking about probably next exit and whatever. That's a highway. What we're seeing going on is really, truly insane. Now, whether it's the European flooding, it's just crazy. I saw in Africa, there was a flood that wiped out a wall in a prison, and all the inmates escaped because the wall came crumbling down. This is all over the place. What we're seeing happening is it's unprecedented in our lifespan, but maybe not unprecedented if we go back a couple hundred years and really look close. This is in Turkey, as you can see. We've seen so many roads collapse. We've seen so many dams break, bridges. It's just, the flooding that we saw in Russia. In China, there's no country on the planet, it seems, that has escaped this. Portugal, they have massive wildfires. These have been going on for days. There are 36 active wildfires at this point in time. Portugal is a beautiful place. Actually, a lot of expats have moved to Portugal and found that to be a good destination for them. But in these times, anywhere you go, you're going to find challenges. Now, they say that in November of 2020, a freak wave came out of the blue, lifting a buoy off the coast of British Columbia, 58 feet in height. And they wouldn't have known it if it wasn't for, again, the buoy. Well, we saw one that moved like 3,000 feet, or at least that's what it was depicting, off the coast of South America in the Pacific. Now, probably some sort of glitch. Or, we were talking about this before, some sort of huge, immense ship or technology being used. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that they've come out in recent times and said, by the way, there's like 3 to 4 times as much water locked up in the crust than there is on the surface because, again, they'll tell you ahead of time. So when we go through this time period with the crazy flooding and maybe rogue waves and tsunamis, we'll have that answer already in our head. Well, they told us, didn't they, that there was like 3 times the amount of water locked up in the crust, and now they'll probably tell us how it made it to the surface, or at least the official way of how it made it to the surface.
Yes. And then we have this. Miss Clinton says Americans who believe conspiracy theories must be jailed before November. Oh my gosh. I think the word conspiracy theory it should just be called a spoiler alert at this time. I mean, what do you guys think?
That's good. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Mm-hmm. She does not look jovial. She does not look friendly. She doesn't look nice. And, then you have Ms. Maddow to the left. I'm not sure if that pronoun's correct or not. So, there's a little something different there, too. But again, there's multiples of these beings. Anybody of significance, real significance, there is multiples. I don't think that they've cloned. I don't think they have a clone for you and me. But I wouldn't put it past them, But yet, it's not as it seems. But now we saw this lockdown going on over in the UK, and they are going forward with it. As you have basically murderers and all sorts of, heavy-duty criminals being let loose, so they could arrest the keyboard warriors that are actually speaking what they believe is true and what most of us would probably agree with. And, here you go. Let's listen to the words of this particular version of HRC.
and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence because than boosting Trump.
Yeah, the thing is that the real corruption is obviously right on the screen in front of you. And truly, for the vast majority of politicians that have had major positions of significance, it is nothing but simply, and Elon's the one that's putting this out, by the way. So, again, they're going to wash away the old and give you something that's new, that's going to be more palatable. Of course, they still are intent on perhaps manifesting those DEA-GEL numbers, which, again, as we roll into fall, we're very close to 2025. And there could be a lot of chaos right around the corner. So, yeah, they're perfectly fine with, again, wiping out one system in order to bring in something that's going to have the potential for even more control. Yet at the same time, the masses really are awakening. Yeah, some slower than others, and some just can't face it. They really just can't face it because their whole reality could crumble. And just like people that were jumping off of skyscrapers and bridges when Orson Welles' War of the World happened, there's a lot of people like that they just can't handle it.
A lot of times we've been docked because we actually played their own words and information from these folks. We do like to get it in their own words with context, because I'm one that I look at things and I'm like, no, that's out of context. We need to go back and need to double check. And we do that. We do the best we can. And the people like us are ending up going to sleep and never waking up. They're ending up in some sort of trouble in some way, shape, or form. They're ending up under a lot of stress. So it's like they're applying this pressure to people who are trying to get the truth out. And it's very, very unfair. And they sit on their high horses and they sit on their thrones and they say, whatever words we speak are true and anything else is just simply not. And you're just going to have to be quiet. And we're seeing that in other countries where it's getting really, really bad. It's just a matter of time. I think we need to speak up while we can here, even if it does make family members upset, sad, whatever. We have a choice to speak up right now.
We could probably do a live video that never stops and is just giving you one example after another of people that are leaving this 3D reality by what, a decision perhaps that they regret dramatically. And we'd never run out of people, because even if you showed one a second, that's how big this is, with the amount of people leaving this 3D construct. Here you have major banks being urged to stop financing global farming, to force limits on the general public's meat and dairy consumption. A lot of people have caught on that, okay, whatever it is that they are trying to keep us from doing, such as eating meat and dairy, maybe that's what we actually should be doing at this point in time. And when you look to raw dairy, that's been made illegal in so many places. The last time I saw in Louisiana, there was a bill that passed the House and it passed the Senate, and it was sitting on the governor's desk, and I haven't heard anything else. And I'll go and look. It was going to legalize it statewide, and this is exactly what happens, because they want to compromise our immune system, and it's very simple. It means more profits. It means more funding for the nonstop, war effort against humanity and the planet. The control grid that we have, the obvious thing here is, okay, we gotta find people that have much better understanding of economics than me and Cindy, because it's not our strong point. I mean, we understand basic things, and we probably understand a lot more than the average person, but at the same time, that's not saying much in this time. It's not saying much at all. What we need to do is to find some brilliant minds to come up with some sort of alternative that, barter and trade is one thing that we could do, but it's going to be challenging if you live in a city to keep track of barter and trade. We could do it out in the countryside a little bit easier. If you are self-sufficient, I think there's going to be pockets of people that are going to come together in small groups and are going to start to work together. They've been doing this for years. There has been. But you also have to realize, too, that anybody that tries to break away from civilization becomes a target. And there have been those that have been ostracized, and then after the fact, obviously, they'll say, well, this group was doing this group was doing that, and that's why the feds moved in. But the reality is, it is the banking cabal, and they don't want us coming up with any real alternatives. And I'll never believe a real alternative is digital, because that is so controllable. Think tangible, opposite. We're going back to the future. And, that may be an analogy that some people can grasp. What did we do in old times? Again, barter and trade, silver and gold always hold value. There's a lot of people that are stocking up certain projectiles, that could be tradable. Obviously, anything, any sort of tool could be tradable. Any sort of skill could be tradable. We have to go the opposite route, because, again, anybody that controls the power supply is going to be able to control any sort of digital currency. It's always going to be susceptible, to any sort of blackout. And I will never trust any sort of entity to be legit with this. I don't know how we could in these times. How could we possibly trust any entity to truly be on the up and up when you're talking about numbers that can be manipulated at will? It's one thing, you grab your wallet and you pull out some bills and, hey, I have $22. Well, it's tangible and it's agreed upon. It may be a fiat currency that is going to hold no real value. And I do think that's part of their plan. We've heard from other people that are more experts at economics that if we do go the route of Venezuela or Argentina in the past, the Weimar Republic, you might see devaluation to the point where we're talking about a bunch of bananas, instead of maybe costing $3.43, they might cost $3,000 because the dollar is going to devaluate like that, and that's inevitable. It's part of what's coming. Think about how they're going to time things together. War Ration Book. Well, yeah, rationing and war, when you're talking global, big wars, they do go hand in hand. Look at what they've done before. They've confiscated gold in the past. Everybody has to, or you could go to jail, right? Here, this is a war rationing book. Now, it's only good for one person, and you see how it's numbered here. So think about them giving out digital war rationing books, because now we're at war. Maybe this is a month or two down the line. Maybe it's a year or two down the line. It's going to be good for you and only you. This is part of the bigger plan there. And even back in these times with this printed book, if somebody finds this, you must deliver it promptly to the nearest rationing board. This is not tradable, right? And they even told you how to shop with rationing tokens. Oh, all red and blue stamps are worth 10 points, and these little tokens are worth 1 point. And, again, they've done this in the past. This is going to be done in a digital manner. And so, we are heading into rationing. We are heading into a new currency change. And I think there'll be a temporary currency, and then you'll have more of their permanent currency. It very well may be Bitcoin. It could be temporary, or it could be the final. Who knows? Or something very, very similar. There's a reason why they're getting you comfortable with Bitcoin. And I understand there's people that are going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't researched it. I've heard the same thing when it comes to the Bible. And yes, I've researched it inside and out. I've read the Nag Hammadi, all the pseudepigraphal books. I've read all the Sumerian texts I could get my hands on, and multiple versions of the Bible time and time again. Look closer. Again, the person that actually started Bitcoin may be an illusion. It may be an acronym, even. It's pseudepigraphal. So for those that understand that's when you are portraying yourself as somebody, but you're not really that person. And so this person that started Bitcoin could be really just simply an illusion. The person might not have ever existed, or he might have existed. And, again, it could be just CIA and FBI and others, MI6. Grocery rationing within 4 years. Well, I think we are closer than that, because in reality, to me, I think we have to get to that 2030-ish time frame. I know they're looking at that, but I feel that they're not going to be successful in everything they want, and they're going to get a far less proportion of humanity to go along with what they want us to go along with. You see here tires being rationed. This is something, this age was where my mom grew up, so they were used to things being tight. And my mom said she had the best childhood ever, and she grew up in, the time period of World War II, and people seemed to band together and cooperate with each other. Now, they were also much more naive when it came to understanding the reality of who the governments are, all the governments. And, here you have it. They're laying it all out in front of us. We're very close to this. The war, the economic collapse, and then new things upon the land. Careful to watch what I'm saying here. It's going to be something that comes out in a synchronous way.
Mm-hmm. Well, we definitely need to have an eye on things that are very, very tangible. I'm definitely with Mike when it comes to the cryptocurrency. It's just so easy to have a blink of a power outage and everything goes down, and then everything comes back up. You could be left with zero, nothing, nada, zilch, and then who are you going to call? who are you going to hold accountable? If you have something tangible in your hands, that's tangible in your hands. That's you are now accountable. I think we do too many things where we're handing our power over to someone else, and that includes the groceries, the food, the everything. We're just expecting someone else to do it. We're expecting that it's going to be okay to go to the grocery store and get most things. And for a little while longer it will be, but I think it's a good idea if you can't grow things to understand who the farmers are in your area. Do a food search, find out who has that good farm, and there's plenty of people willing to allow you to go out to their farm and pick what you want because they're shorthanded. So you just never know. We have to look around, and we need to keep our eye on tangible. That's what I'm thinking the focus should be for anyone. Just keep it on the tangible.
So what happens when the government restricts meat consumption during World War II? Food rationing led to significant changes in consumption habits. Adults and children over 12 were limited to 2 pounds of meat per week, which was monitored through rationing coupon books. And this caused a black market to develop, and about 20% of the meat that was transferring hands was through the black market. Again, with the government books, like, with WIC and those programs, I am familiar enough with them to understand that they will limit you. Like, you can only get this brand or that brand or generic and what have you. So I would think that everything would probably be more than likely FDA, CDC, WHO approved, if you get where we're going with that. This is another way to force people, to go a certain way. Here you have Daily Express saying, confused Trump struggles in painful crypto interview and keeps trying to change topic. He talks about the fact that Barron has something like 4 wallets, and he'll ask Barron, because Barron is up on this. Yeah, again, obviously the younger generation is going to do better with this concept than me or Trump. But he is, again, he seems to be fully on board with this crypto. He recently revealed ownership of over $1 million in crypto, earnings of $300,000 from sales of branded Bibles. Spoke to social media influencer and entrepreneur Farrokh Sarmad, who has 3 million followers on his Good Life Instagram page. Yeah, when I see some of these things and realize, why don't we get any kids? We have a handful of really dedicated younger people, like teens and in their 20s, that watch our channel, but it's really rare. It really is. The vast majority of our people our regular followers are between like 45 and up. So it's a certain thing where I guess they really do have the hooks in the younger generations a lot more than us that were used to, going out and riding our bike and not bringing our phone, because we didn't have a phone. The phone was mounted on the wall. And yet I didn't worry about it. I didn't worry about ever missing a call. And even as a teen, when you had your friends and, you call them briefly and, okay, I'll meet you at the park. And that's it. And then you head off to the park. It's such a virtual world. It's again, it reminds me of the Mayan, I believe it was the Mayan prophecies that spoke about the fact that it would be our very technology that would end up entrapping us and attacking us. And our technology is attacking us. And many people are still asleep to that, but I know you guys understand that.
Well, I do. I think it's even in the Bible where information going from here to there in an instant, in a blink of an eye. I forgot where, but I do remember seeing that in our very own Bible, and that's what we have. We have Messenger. It's just going boom, boom, and it definitely puts a hamper on our natural abilities. So we're not using them like a muscle, and it is very much like a muscle to use that intuition and that understanding. And the digital realms do not allow us for self-exploration of ourselves. It's like, why are these emotions being cropped up? We don't think about it. We just get an app to help us manage things, and that's not living. that's handing your power over to your phone, and we just have too much of that.
So again, he pledged to turn the United States into the crypto capital of the planet. Yes, totally. He is in line. And then also, when asked direct questions, he changed the topic to AI needing electricity or China. At one stage, he made a comparison between crypto and his granddaughter learning Chinese. Interesting. Learning Chinese. Yeah, there's different, apparently different programs that are all working as one. And we should understand that. Scientists just figured out how many chemicals enter our body from food packaging. We do not drink out of plastic. We do not drink out of plastic. Again, when some people still will throw plastic bottles in the freezer and then let them thaw out because they'll be nice and cold, and then drink that. You are toxifying yourself to the highest degree here. There's a lot of things we have to wake up to, and we have a toxic overload situation that's going on. So there's roughly 14,000 known chemicals in food packaging. That's boggling the mind, doesn't it? 3,601, about 25%, have been found in the human body, whether in blood, hair, or breast milk. Yes, think carefully about packaging. We use glass as much as we can. Of course, there's glass that could be toxic and lead-laden too. Everything about this, do you think that this is all just whoopsies? Oh, we didn't know. We were just trying to make as much profit as possible, so we didn't really pay attention. That's what they want you to think. The reality is this is completely purposeful, and there's plastic in our brains. Our brains. There's a Mikeism, guys. Our brains are loaded with plastic. Yeah, I got to do a little more detoxing. It's a black coffee day today.
I know. There's just too much. We have to be detoxing constantly, and gosh, it does get frustrating, because if you're not detoxing on purpose, you're really, really, really going to be causing a problem in your body. And we do have several detox videos. We have several health videos if anybody wants to look into that. But I would say the quickest go-to is just get lemon water in you, organic lemon. You want the organic lemon water, and just drink that. Just drink that, because that's going to be a little bit of a constant flush. It's like a little bit of a trickle going through the body all the time.
Absolutely. And the reality is you wouldn't want to go and live inside a giant microwave, but that's what's happening. This is what's happening. Why do you feel tired? Why do you feel lethargic, sick, low energy? And we told one of our dearest family members and friends who did leave the greater LA area, you really should get out of that area. And so she did. And now that she's, living in the countryside far away from there, she's very grateful she did make the change, because a lot of health conditions have cleared up, and she's getting stronger. And not only that, but her abilities, her perceptive abilities are such that she is like Cindy and I when it comes to picking up all sorts of information from the higher densities. And same thing can happen with so many people out there. It may be that Cindy is unusual in this time, but the reality is another generation, if we were allowed to progress naturally, she would be kind of typical. And so, things like, again, connecting to people that have already passed on, connecting to your guides, your angels, those beings that are really rooting for you. That's the norm. It's everything about this system that cuts us off from that and strives to make us fearful to really connect to the beings that really do love you and really do care about you. And instead, the system gets so many people worshiping it, and the system is the whole problem. It's the only problem. So when you see these energy pulses that are going on, again, it's just as if we are now living in a microwave. So this is another reason why, if you are in the middle of Chicago or DC or Los Angeles or Miami or Atlanta or any of these big metropolises, when I made the last trip to Greenville, South Carolina, which is a city that I definitely enjoy. Again, we wouldn't live in the middle of any city at this point in time, and one of the things we look for is how far away is that nearest tower, because we want it to be far away as possible, and we also want to have a lot of trees around us blocking it. You are literally, that which is put in the microwave oven, literally. This is what's going on. And, as this video also says, you just don't see that in areas with extremely low population. But, you also have Elon saying he's going to bring the signal everywhere. And this is part of it. This is definitely part of it. When we lived in New Mexico, That house, that little cabin that we were in, was sunk into the ground a couple of feet, and it was all earthen. And it was just amazing because, again, there was no signal out there. If we turned off our router, zero phone service. Yeah, and we had to drive about 6 miles to get somewhere where there was a little bit of service. At the same time, quiet, peaceful, best meditations I've probably ever had in my life.
It really was. Getting that stone, getting that dirt, getting that wood, getting water, get it around you. The only problem I have with the area that we're in is I'm lacking rocks. I miss my rocks. I'm one of those silly people that brings home a 5 or a 10-pound rock with every walk that I took out in the desert. There were so many, and I'm lacking that here, but there's still plenty of trees, there's plenty of water, there's plenty of dirt, and you get your hands in that, you get your feet in it, you make a connection, get a grounding sheet, get a grounding mat, do what you need to do to get that grounding.
A lot of people are catching on that what you see is not what you always get, and this is talking about that episode that Petraeus had where he seemed to suffer some sort of physical issue. But when you look closely too at the video, I'll give you guys the link, you can see it is true. It's like his head is morphing some, and now they're going to turn the sound on, but I'm going to turn that off. When they're walking him out, you will see that there's like this area up in here that almost seems like it just, you have to look close. It almost seems like it's a hologram. And yeah, absolutely. When they talk about fake alien invasion, Project Bluebeam, that's been here thousands of years. The alien invasion was real, and they're controlling the planet right now. Your entire life, you've been controlled by forces that are not Homo sapiens sapiens. And, this reality is starting to hit more and more people. We see it. It's all breaking down as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about. They won't be able to hold their form. Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. And here you have people that are baiting the fish in. I don't know if this is a oil platform in the Gulf or not. That's what it feels like. There's more things in the ocean hidden from everyday sight that would also boggle our minds. It's not just, again, beings from other planets. And, under our feet, inside the earth, Agartha, Shambhala, Shangri-La, you have Telos, you have all these different references to very, very advanced civilizations inside the earth. Again, what we've gotten is that the earth itself is at least 4 times bigger than what they tell us. There's all these things that seem like myth and legends based on reality. And this is part of the exciting part of going into a Bronze Age, is that we are going back to the time of myth and legends. Absolutely. There is a merging of the densities as we are rising up. We do have to go through the lower astral first, which is kind of a hellish realm. Makes sense, doesn't it? That's what we're seeing right here. But we will pass that, and we will move farther on. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. You are what is your deep and driving desire. As is your desire, so is your will. As is thy will, so is thy work. As is thy work, so is thy destiny, from the Upanishads. If you really want to see the wisdom that they pulled into the Bible from the very, very best of the allegories, the parables, and the stories, read the Upanishads. When I read them, it was like, oh, this is where they got that from, because this is really, it is loaded with true, simple wisdom. And yeah, as we were sharing before, it's it's in the histories where some historians like Josephus said that the Jewish tradition is really an offshoot of the Hindu tradition. Now, we've said, again, the tradition that dominates this planet, the Abrahamic tradition, ultimately comes from Mars because it's a distortion. It is. You'll find that there's things in there that just feel right. Just like there feels like there is a benevolent creator. And there is. Absolutely. The creator is a very loving and benevolent being. So there is a creator of this particular universe. And yet there is one source of all things too, because this universe is just one amongst countless. It's a single cell. Just as your body is loaded with 10 times more things that are not your body itself living in you, you are a universe. As above, so below, as within, so without. You look over here, the body becomes what the foods are, as the spirit becomes what the thoughts are. This is a Kemetic proverb from Egypt. And again, there's so much distortion. We've talked about how they've merged the hidden god Amun, Amun, with Ra, the sun god. And yeah, everything has been jumbled up as much as they can. They've twisted it into a pretzel, so they figure you can't figure it out. But when you start to vibrate at a higher frequency, it will start to become clearer.
You're able to see it clearer and clearer once you break out of that paradigm and understand that, hey, these things in the Bible, they have another source. This is not anything original at all in any way, shape, or form. It's something that was thrown together. And a lot of people, if you talk to a lot of organized religious communities, they don't really favor the Freemasons too well, yet the Bible was written by the Freemasons. So I don't understand, and you can even point that out to them, and they just won't look at it. But I do understand that it's cognitive dissonance, and it's difficult. It's just the further away I get from it, I guess, the harder it is for me to reconnect with that understanding that's just not there, with that thing that's right in front of you that you refuse to acknowledge. I think there is a point where truly people cannot acknowledge, but then there's another point where people are just being selfish. They're like, okay, if I acknowledge this, then I have to rearrange my whole life. I don't even know if I can work at the job that I'm at. I don't even think I can make the money anymore. So it's better for me just to not look at this. And I think that's where a lot of people are stuck. And in due time, they will get out of it. I was talking to a very dear friend yesterday, and we were talking about thoughts, and we were talking about attaching ourselves to certain concepts, and being at a job where it's very difficult to believe in these things anymore at your work, and how to disconnect from that, and I was talking to her about a thing. It's called gray rock. And whenever someone or something gets brought up and you absolutely cannot deal with it, you flatten those emotions and you disconnect from it. If it's not going to serve you, if it's just going to bring you stress and grief, and you're just better off to just turn it gray, no emotion up, no emotion down. You no longer feed the situation. You just walk away. I think that's something that so many people should learn. Other people might call it Buddhist detachment. It's like a survival technique in the world that we live in today. If you're going through an awakening, but you're still in a job that requires you to listen to the old BS that you don't believe in anymore, sometimes to make this transition, we just have to gray rock, just disconnect from whatever is happening at that job, and don't let it stress you, because that's going to pull your frequency down. We don't want that.
Absolutely. And we could have a paradise on the planet, and it wouldn't even really take too much. It would just take recognizing that we're supposed to live in a symbiotic way, because as the planet gets harmed, so do we. This is Scottie Pippen, who you might remember from the Chicago Bulls. He says, as you get older, you'll realize a $30,000 watch and a $30 watch both tell the same time. Gucci wallet and Target wallet hold the same amount of money. $10 million house and a $100,000 house host the same loneliness. A Ford will also drive you as far as a Bentley. True happiness is not found in materialistic things. It comes from the love and the laughter found with each other. Stay humble. The holes dug for us in the ground are all the same size. This is somebody going through a little bit of a spiritual awakening.
They are. And the one thing that stuck out to me out of all of those is stay humble. The holes dug for us in the ground are all the same size. We're not going to be able to take the things with us. We're all going to go, and the spirit is going to be shaped a little bit different. And I think, eating a little piece of humble pie here and there is a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. And as we were saying, he is going through something right now. Now, obviously, he's a millionaire. He's been very, very successful. 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 6-time NBA champion. Sure, he's lived a big-time life. This is where Cindy can see what he's going through, because energy-wise, he's going through an identity crisis. And this is something that can be hitting many people that had bought into the system, at least to a degree, and then the realization now that all that glitters is not gold.
Mm-hmm. And when I did feel his energy, poor guy, his solar plexus and throat chakra, they're all twisted up. They're not. He's trying to speak what he feels, but he's not able to get through that right now. So that's the struggle.
Yeah, this is the becoming aware of the higher self and understanding the cost that you pay for the things that inflate the ego, because if it is at the expense of others, or even if it's just simply in sports, it does come with a price, and this is the realization that's hitting many. So, there is a big awakening going on. Have you ever seen an octopus run? I just couldn't get over this when I was looking at this. It's like, look at that guy go. Octopuses, Cindy gets, are extraterrestrial. Well, in reality, this planet was wiped out to a very large degree and then was recreated again through the intervention of the Creator and the Galactic Federation and many other beings coming together to say, no, we're not going to let the system, because it is the same system that rules the roost right now on the planet that did the destruction of Tiamat. We're not going to allow that to happen and to stay this way, so it was recreated. And the octopus are extraterrestrial. And, again, don't underestimate a being because of its vehicle and think that it might have less intelligence than we do, because that's not really always the case.
No, it's not. You got to look further. The octopus, the dragonfly. There's a few that are very, very unique and come from very unique star systems, and they're more like us than you would think. And it's heartbreaking to see them treated otherwise, because people, it seems like they look at animals and they think that there's nothing there, but there's everything there and more.
Yeah, this is another distortion of the system, which would label everything that's not human as less than, but it's just a different vehicle. It's all one consciousness. Everything is part of this one ocean of consciousness. And this guy just thinks, this is fascinating. I think they like me. Wow, I think they accept me. Maybe I could be one of them.
I know. New friends are nice.
Absolutely. Again, follow the heart. Follow your intuition. Develop your intuition. Recognize that we have been herded like sheep. We've always been herded into one location after another. As soon as we start to go down a road that leads to true liberation, they come in recognizing that they can no longer trick us with one paradigm, they give us a new paradigm where we can again occupy ourselves with a rabbit hole that leads to nowhere, where the rabbit hole to freedom may be very, very close and indeed right in front of our face the whole time.
Just stay focused on your own growth and you'll do good.
Absolutely. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.